Hi dear friends, and beloved greetings from the Andalusian mountains again. Today I want to talk about the madness of germ phobia. Now, we're going to start by looking at some numbers. We've all been blasted over the last 6 months with the ever-increasing case count and death count of COVID-19. However, without being given any intelligent or enlightening context for these numbers. So they're totally taken out of context and blown out of proportion to give us the illusion of a deadly, serious pandemic, a contagion, an invisible killer. So we're going to try and get some perspective into this image by examining, first of all, the human body. Did you know that the human organism contains over 300 trillion viruses? 300 trillion. More than bacteria, more than even human cells. And if these viruses were sterilized from our being, we would die instantaneously, just like that, because we depend on them. Now, there isn't that much research done into the new biology. We don't know that much yet about the human virome. But what we do know is that the human body is built a certain way for an intelligent reason. Everything is interconnected and in supreme harmony if we just have the knowledge and wisdom to not disturb the continuous regenerative and self-healing mechanism of our bodies. Like, honestly, since when have we viewed our lives and this world through the fear of microorganisms? Think about it. I mean, when you submerge yourself into a body of living water, let's say a lake, do you realize that you are swimming in a sea of colonies, of trillions, literally trillions of bacteria, arthropods, protozoa, hydras, fungi, phytoplankton, and algae? Do you think about these tiny little guys that are there with you? Do you realize that you're floating with fish, sperm, and eggs? Do you realize that there are rotting root systems below you? There's feces and urine of all the underwater species. There's particles of decaying flesh. There's decomposing plant material. No, I'm sure none of this crosses your mind when you go into water, because you have visceral memory and knowledge of the amazing healing and revitalizing properties of being in the water, of swimming, of being one with the living water of this earth. And do you know how many viruses are actually on the earth as a whole? There's quadrillion individual viruses. That's 10 nonillion viruses. That's way more than there are actually known stars in our universe. I mean, you can't even imagine how many little viruses are passing constantly in the air that we're made of, that everything is consisting of. Are you beginning to see the madness that is being perpetuated? This germ phobia. Do you honestly believe that the function of these viruses is to be agents of terror, to hunt us down and kill us? Do you really think there's such a flaw in this world, in this creation, that we can't respond to it with intelligence? That there couldn't be a way for our bodies to fight it off naturally? That somehow we are just absolutely at its mercy, a particle that is like 1/1000th of a meter, that we can't even see with the naked eye? You really think that can throw an entire human body? If you think that, you don't know who you are. You don't know the miracle of our immune systems. And the very definition of the natural world is that it is alive. Literally, everything around us is alive. And we cannot try to sterilize this life out of our world. Our world is made of microorganisms. And you can't stop them from moving across space, from spreading. That is one of their integral purposes, to be able to do that. According to Zach Bush, viruses are vital particles of communication with the natural world. The purpose of which is to help our organism to adapt to the ever-changing requirements of living in harmony with our environment, with these circumstances. It's like they are accelerators of biological evolution within ourselves, exposing us the reality of our world with all of its challenges, whether they are the increasing levels of cyanide in the atmosphere from air pollution or non-native EMF radiation. And I personally deeply believe that one of the roots of our modern day malady is our profound disconnectedness from nature. And this painful separation is reflected in the way that we treat the earth, because we no longer consider it as our mother. We pollute the air, we contaminate the waters, we dominate the wildlife, we burn our forests. It's our very own home that we are destroying. And now we're allowing our bodies to be destroyed as well, with pharmaceuticals, with invasive, toxic treatments and injections, with food that is not fit for human consumption. And what is the outcome? Exactly what is happening now. An epidemic of profound toxicity in people's bodies, which is blamed on a singular germ. We really can ask ourselves, what have we done as a human family to guard our sacred vessel, to nourish our bodies, and to support our miraculous immune systems? What are we doing now when reality is exposing the frailty of millions, hundreds of millions of people who, for one reason or another, live with comorbidities? Do we try to suppress life? The spread of microorganisms, particles of life? We try to take people's breath away, deeming it some kind of a lethal substance? We try to eliminate human touch? One of the most meaningful ways that our hearts communicate with one another. We can't do that. You know, Saya G and Dr. Kelly Brogan, beautiful couple, and very insightful people, they have this wonderful phrase, community is immunity. And I 100% resonate with that. Because what is left in life if all of our relationships, all of our interactions, all of our behaviors are constantly governed by surveillance, totalitarian control, fear, and medical tyranny. It's a nightmare. That's not a life. It's an Orwellian dystopia that we need to seriously wake up to. It is a brute mentality, a sign of extremely low level of consciousness to want to wage war against the natural world, against life. Health is not a political battleground. Instead, it should be our first and highest responsibility and gift. Now, this virus called SARS-CoV-2 is claimed to be wreaking absolute havoc around the world, leading our governments to lock down entire nations, causing loss of livelihoods, suffering and deaths of despair, with generational consequences to hundreds of millions of people. However, according to Dr. Andrew Kaufman, another brilliant mind and a courageous soul who's been exposing this fraud from the get-go, according to him, the virus has actually never even been purified or isolated. Therefore, there doesn't actually even exist proof of a novel killer virus, which would be causing a singular known pattern of infection in the body. Thank God, though, there are now hundreds of doctors beginning to speak up, alongside Andrew Kaufman. Just recently in Madrid, July 25th, there was a press conference of the organization Doctors for the Truth, Spain, where they stated the following. The disease known as COVID-19 does not have a single infectious pattern, but a combination of them. There are crossed toxic patterns. On the one hand, the electromagnetic contamination of 5G technology, and on the other, the influence of the influenza vaccination. They concluded that this is a world dictatorship with a sanitary excuse. Now, those are some very powerful words coming from the mouth of 145 doctors in Spain. Furthermore, by realizing that authentic self-care should be our very first responsibility and privilege, we can actually begin to empower ourselves. We can step away from this toxic cycle of victimhood, believing that disease is merely a manifestation of bad luck in our lives, that we can't do anything about it. When the truth is that it's all about our underlying health, the health of our cellular terrain, the well-being of our psycho-spiritual plane of being, our emotional body. All of these are fundamental aspects of true health, without which we begin to lose our self-sovereignty and vitality, which in turn nourishes our creativity and our relationships. Spiraling out of balance, we can easily become dependent on industries that profit from our sickness. But it doesn't have to be that way. Oftentimes a crisis comes into our lives to call us on a more holistic, loving path. It's an opportunity for us to activate our gifts and find our true values, to really walk our lives with integrity. And we can use our free will to cultivate seeds of well-being and protect our vitality. We can consciously choose our daily habits, our meals, and our medicines, which there are plenty growing on the bosom of Mother Earth. But as long as we voluntarily, willingly harm ourselves by feeding and injecting ourselves and our children with pure poison, then we cannot expect others to stop oppressing us. You see, that is natural law. That is cause and effect. We must first begin to love ourselves in the most basic ways, in concrete action. We must care about our lives enough to say no to poison and say yes to life. Sending you so much love, guys. Please share the video if it resonates with you. And I just want to say thank you so much for all of your earnest resilience, your courage, your love. And if you guys would like to support me, there's a link below for my Patreon account, as this is now pretty much my full-time vocation, is doing activism. So sending you so much love, and see you soon, guys.